listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019, middle of the weekday, hump day, starting that long, slow glide down to Powwow on a Friday, and whatever other insanity is due to hit us this week. And I have to tell you, I've been going through the news today, looking at the propaganda, the stuff about the impeachment and Ukraine and all the rest of it. And I've come to the conclusion that truth has become such a valuable commodity that our government and corporate media are economizing it, because I have never seen a group of people with tongues so handy and information so unreliable in my entire lifetime. Now, normally I'll be watching Fox News to read the subtitles to see what's going on here. But frankly, at this point, if it wasn't for the plunging necklines, I'd turn the TV set off at this point. That's how useless they have actually become. All right, now over at... First of all, our phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone when you call on in. And by the way, I want to take a moment here. You've probably noticed I'm wearing all these Indiana t-shirts, and these are being sent to me by the listeners, for which I want to express my gratitude here. I didn't even have this many Hawaii t-shirts when I lived in Hawaii, but I've got this one, the basketball shirt, the red one, and so I'm starting to fit in like a native here, and so thank you all very much for that. Okay, this is the week for the United Nations General Assembly, and apparently Mike Pompeo is making the rounds insisting that the United States has definitive, unimpeachable proof that Bashar al-Assad used chemical weapons against ISIS last May. And of course, last May, they couldn't find any proof about it, but Pompeo said, yes, now we've got to do. So what he's doing is basically he's going around the General Assembly trying to sell the idea of yet another United States attack on Syria. That's what's going on here. A lot of people are still talking about the Yemen war report and how the Houthis delivered this devastating blow to Saudi Arabia. And this is important, not just because the Houthis fought back, not just because they blew up some facilities, not because they killed a bunch of people and they took a bunch of weapons. This was an emotional blow to the people of Saudi Arabia, who had been listening to their corporate media. And for that matter, the United States was listening to our corporate media saying, oh, those Houthis, they're ragtag, they're really not capable. They'll be gone in 6 months' time. And of course, that was a couple of years ago. And now all of a sudden, the Houthis appear to have come up with their own version of General Giap, which, if you remember the war in Vietnam, he was the military genius who basically turned that war around and kicked the United States in the butt. You remember that? The orderly withdrawal from Vietnam, which was the helicopter with 20 Marines dangling underneath it. That's what's going on here. And that's why it's not getting a lot of coverage here in the United States of America. This is a huge embarrassment. These were American weapons, American supplied weapons that got wiped out by the Houthis and the Yemenites. Major, major victory for them. And good for them. We shouldn't have been messing with them anyway here. Now, as you know, diversity is the word of the day. And the longer we live here in the United States, diverse it seems to get. And so there's this white female Marine general claims that the diversity in America's military is our greatest strength over the homogeneity of Russia and China. And what she's actually saying is, because we have all these different people speaking all these different languages with all these different customs, it makes us stronger than the unified Russian and Chinese army. And needless to say, the Russians and the Chinese are laughing their heads off at her. Because, hey, go back and read your Bible, what happened at the Tower of Babel. Now, North Korea has done something which, I mean, not that Kim Jong-un calls me on the phone and says, Michael, what do you think about this? But he did something really dumb. They're talking about restarting diplomatic talks with the United States on this Saturday, and then North Korea test launches a submersible ballistic missile just one day after agreeing to the talks. Now, I have to question the timing on that. I have to question who's really in charge over there in North Korea. Because if you're trying to talk about, let's talk diplomacy here, the last thing you want to do is let off a potential nuclear weapon that can be sublaunched. That's a major game changer. I don't know what Kim Jong-un is thinking, if he's really talking about diplomacy, or if he's just going to get Trump over there to get another photo op with him, because that builds his international reputation. He's a player on the world stage. He gets to hang out with President Trump. Okay, now yesterday we talked about this story where Saudi Arabia was now communicating diplomatically with Israel through a third party. Nobody's saying what they're talking about, only that it's going on here. And what's really interesting is back in 2017, there was a documentary that was made where Mohammed bin Salman said he was ready to recognize Israel if the U.S. helps him defeat Iran. So what's going on here? Are they moving forward with the plan? Well, why is Saudi Arabia talking to Iran? I'm sorry, they're talking to Israel. Are they getting ready to go on in and finally make war against Iran? And by the way, that's not going to be easy. First of all, probably the reason bin Salman is talking to Israel about needing their help to go into Iran is because he just got his rear end kicked over there in Yemen. That's got to be weighing very, very heavily on his mind right now that, hey, we're not as good as we thought we were. And we're going to need a little bit of help. And we're going to get Israel over there with their wonderful F-35s, which are stealthy unless you're going up against the Germans. But it just feels like the world is spinning off into chaos right now. It's crazy. Okay, now, speaking of Iraq, as you know, yesterday we reported on how this so-called land bridge, this corridor between Iraq and Syria, was being attacked by the air. It was presumed to be Israel. And so Iraqi Hashd al-Sha'abi says they're now going to retaliate against Israel for these attacks. This is coming from a high-ranking commander of the Popular Mobilization Units, saying Iraq Prime Minister Abdul Mahdi's confirmation of the Israeli regime's responsibility for a string of attacks on positions of the Iraq pro-government forces makes retaliation legitimate. So we're going to have a regional war. We're going to have a regional war. Everybody's going to be fighting everybody. Whose side are you on? I forget. Doesn't matter. Boom. Here. Over in Iraq, there are major protests raging. The police are using live fire. The embassies are all sealed off. At least 7 people are dead. Now, the initial protest, people aren't sure exactly what started it. Who knows? Maybe it's another U.S. color operation. But apparently, the protests for today are seen as fueled by anger over corruption, which is a U.S. import, unemployment, which is a result of the U.S. invasion, and the lack of basic services, also the result of the U.S. invasion. So we really messed up this country, and the Iraqis are not happy about it at all. Over in Peru, yes, even in Peru, the whole world is going crazy. The army and the police are siding with the president in a standoff against the parliament. Now, this tells you just how bad the corruption is getting in the world, because apparently the president wanted to pass some bills against graft. Is trying to fight the corruption within the Peruvian government, and the parliament refused to go along, at which point he dissolved the parliament. And now the parliament is coming on back with people in the streets and calling on him to resign and saying, you know, we need a new general election. We need a new president who's okay with graft and corruption. But the army and the police are siding with the president against the parliament. So this could get really, really ugly. But at least, hey, honesty in government. Yes, I stand for corruption. I stand for graft. I stand for greed. I'm running on an honesty platform here. Okay, over in Poland, the United States has been constructing this missile shield site in Poland. It's based on what's called the Aegis Ashore facility. And what it is the standard Aegis radar missile launch system, but instead of being on a ship's hull, it's put on the ground. In fact, if you go to Google Earth and you go out to Barking Sands over on Kauai, you can zoom in, you can see they have one set up there. And they have them set up on the East Coast and everything. Well, now they're finishing this one in Poland. This is what Russia says violates the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Remember when Trump pulled on out of that and said, you evil Russians, you're violating the treaty. And Russia's come on back and said, take a look at what you just built. That's the violation. This thing is capable of launching nuclear-tipped missiles deep into Russia. Insane here. All right, so let's talk about our domestic politics. What's really going on here? Are we looking at a real impeachment, or is this an orchestrated coup d'etat just to get rid of Donald Trump? And as I said yesterday, the only thing that makes sense as to why they're working so hard to get rid of him is because all of these people, McCabe, Comey, Loretta Lynch, head of the FBI, head of the CIA, all these intelligence agencies, they're all tangled up in this global drug and arms trafficking. And Trump isn't part of the group. And they're concerned that if he does find out, there's going to be problems. So we may be looking not an impeachment, because after all, what's he done he's impeachable for? He hasn't done anything impeachable. You have to have a high crime and misdemeanor. And calling the president of Ukraine to honor a 1999 treaty mandating cooperation in criminal investigations, that's not an impeachable offense. But you have to be concerned about the efforts to remove Trump from office. And Nancy Pelosi is out there saying, yes, we're going to get him out there. We're fast tracking it. We're going to get rid of him like that. And I don't know what Nancy is thinking. If she can impeach Trump and Pence at the exact same time, she gets to be president. President Pelosi, is she really crazy enough to think that she can pull that off here? And I want to reiterate something here again, and I've been saying it for a while. As president, I am very disappointed in Donald Trump. He has not kept the promises he made during the campaign. He's a weak leader. He's easily manipulated. He's subject to flattery. He's capricious, which is very dangerous in a president. But he is the president. And these members of the government who are working to remove him from office, that is a coup d'etat. And it has to be a coup d'etat because they really don't have, an impeachable offense. I mean, Adam Schiff is out there thinking this phone call to the president of Ukraine is the smoking gun. We've got him now. We've got Trump for sure. He made a phone call. How could he do that? And they're getting really crazy out there. Maxine Waters is saying not only should President Trump be impeached, He should be imprisoned in solitary confinement. That's just a little bit out there. And this is the chairwoman of the Financial Services Committee, which you may want to keep in mind when we're talking about the economy a little bit later in the show. But going on back here, everybody's like, we have to impeach, we have to impeach. Okay, what for? What for? What high crime and misdemeanor has Trump committed that deserves impeachment? And they're trying to find, they're trying to manufacturing something. And they can't. Trump hasn't done anything, either good or bad. That's my chief complaint with him. He hasn't done anything good. Hasn't done any of the good things he promised us he was going to do. But he hasn't done anything that rises to the level of high crime and misdemeanor. And the liberals are just, they're going crazy. And everyone's trying to figure out what's going on here. And there's an interesting little story that came on out. This is from Investment Watch Blog, asking if the Democrats have brought this impeachment issue in order to drive Joe Biden out of the race, which would leave this big empty space for Hillary Clinton to come on in and steal the nomination again. We're seeing more and more signs she's going to run. When she lost in 2016, I said, she'll be back. She's not going away. They're not going to put her in a coffin and put a stake through the heart. So another article here, this one's also over at Lou Rockwell, saying the failed Schiff CIA-led coup against Trump will bring Hillary into the presidential race with dire consequences. And it certainly will be, because I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not trained in psychiatry, but from where I sit, she's batshit crazy. Let's go to the phones here to Steve Elkins. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, it's talking about, the news is talking about Pompeo. Secretary of State Pompeo was witness to that phone call Donald Trump made to the Ukrainian president.
Yes.
And, of course, he said there was nothing to the call.
Yeah.
And I have a little flashback. I played a clip a couple of weeks ago, and you can find it on YouTube still, where Mike Pompeo was talking about when he was in the Naval Academy, U.S. Naval Academy, how honor and tradition was the core to being in the academy. And then once he left the academy and joined the CIA, he learned how to lie, steal, and cheat.
Steal all the time, yes.
Yeah. Right. So keeping that in mind, he doesn't have any credibility.
Instead of
having
CIA,
that
they ought to call it LCS, lie, cheat, and steal.
Yeah, the Democrats are going to pull that video out. You watch. They're going to pull that out and say, we can't trust this guy. No doubt about it.
You can't trust any of
them.
them.
As far as Hillary, I do believe there's a possibility she will come back in politics, no doubt about it. But I have a different scenario that is a possibility, knowing her criminal background and the body count. But I think it's killing two birds with one stone. I think she and the intelligence were part of this newest Ukraine gate, I guess you want to call it.
Yes.
And so she was talking to Hillary about 2 weeks ago, and I was curious about that conversation. So we could see a scenario where she's also part of this to take out Biden, get rid of him.
Yeah.
Warren is the second line to be president. Trump would be out. He would be damaged with the reputation problem and maybe a economic collapse. So Warren goes in to become president, and vice president would be Hillary, and then we have another JFK moment. Warren is out.
Yes.
And Hillary Clinton is president.
Oh, Warren has to know that if she names Hillary as her vice presidential running mate, she's painting a target on her back.
Exactly. That's what I said last week. She would be. Knowing the history, yes. Painting a target on her back, no doubt about it. Hey, another thing about this Representative Chris Collins, I think the Democrats are going to latch onto that because he's resigned from his insider trading deal. I wouldn't be surprised because they're focusing on, lately, they've been saying that Collins is a huge supporter in the very beginning of Donald Trump. I think they're going to try to stretch this corruption to Donald Trump. Wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, okay. Steve, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. Don't hang up. I'm going to come right back to you.
Sure.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Steve Elkins. We're talking about, this idea of impeachment. And again, you can't just impeach the president because you don't like him. And we're seeing all these articles about how, well, yes, I'm a Republican, but I'm going to vote to impeach. And they're even talking about having enough Republicans in the Senate to remove him from office. Why? Okay. The only thing that makes sense is that they are all involved in this gigantic Uranium One, Clinton Foundation, money laundering, gun running, drug running operation. And because Trump is not part of it, they need to get rid of him. That's the only thing that makes any sense to me.
Hey, last but least, wanted to mention that yesterday, Joseph Wilson, the husband of Valerie Plame, you can educate your listeners on that whole thing, the scenario with the Niger and yellow cake uranium. But he passed away yesterday, age of 69. I just wanted to pass that on. And the guy was a sharp guy. He was a true patriot, and I just wanted to recognize him today that for what he did, telling the truth.
Do we know
going
how
up against
he died?
It said multi-system organ failure, but that could be sepsis.
Ah.
I'm not sure. It just said multi-organs.
Could also be
What's that?
poison.
Could have been.
Yeah.
But he did go up against the Bushes, George W. Bush there, and tried to stop it, but it didn't work. But I mean, what an effort, and I commend him for trying and going out there. And it's Karl Rove was never prosecuted for outing Valerie Plame, and he should have. He jeopardized her safety, her life, and they never did a thing to him on that whole thing. Nothing ever happened on that.
And it wasn't just Valerie Plame. I mean, they destroyed Brewster Jennings and Associates, which was, the CIA's cover for tracking third world nuclear weapons. I mean, they just completely wrecked the place.
Yeah. No accountability, no punishment. Terrible. That's it for me, Mike. Have a great show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Philip in Virginia. Aloha, Philip. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Michael. Before I get to what was on what I called about, you're talking about the outing of the Plame Gate and all that stuff. So it's your view that Plame and her husband were white hats?
Yes. Well, at least the husband was. Basically, he went on over there following up on this claim that Iraq was buying yellow cake uranium from other countries. And the story really didn't make a lot of sense because Iraq has lots and lots of its own natural uranium. It doesn't need to be buying it from Niger. And so Joe Wilson came on back and said, these documents are forgeries. They're on the wrong letterhead. They're bearing the wrong signatures. This thing is a complete fake. And in order to try and discredit Joe Wilson, they went public and saying, oh, well, his wife works for the CIA. And that's how Valerie Plame got outed and ended her career in intelligence. Ended the company that she was working for, Brewster Jennings and Associates, caused a huge amount of damage to our national security.
Yeah, now that's I remember that with Wilson now.
Yeah,
and that was honorable. That was honorable what he did. I got mixed feelings about his wife, though. I just read today, as a matter of fact, that she was behind a movement that wanted to buy Twitter so they could kick Donald Trump off. So I don't know how true that is, but.
Well, there's a lot of people who are talking about buying all of social media so they can block Donald Trump. But I think Trump could basically fight back on First Amendment grounds. Remember, there was that one point where he was already trying to block people on Twitter, and the court said, you can't do that, you're a public forum. And now, of course, I guess Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is now getting dragged into court about her blocking people on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to find out how that's going to go down. Anyway, well, you asked a question about the whole impeachment thing and what crimes did he commit.
Yes.
And I guess one of them would be through their pretzel logic that they're using. Just in my newspaper today, there's a letter to the editor, and they seem to think that because he withheld taxpayer money from Congress that was to be sent to Ukraine to help protect them from the evil Russians. Is that true or is that false?
Well, it's not true. Trump did not withhold the money from Congress. He withheld the money from Ukraine, and that's his prerogative to do. Okay, because
I agree.
That's foreign policy, and that's firmly in the hands of the State Department. That's executive branch. Congress has nothing to say about what's going on inside other countries other than for a declaration of war. Congress's job is supposed to be taking care of the inside of this country, and they're doing a piss poor job of it.
I agree. And one of the things that really irritates the living daylights out of me is when they use these false narratives like that to push this impeachment. They strain at a gnat and swallow a camel, because I do not agree with sending any military aid over there to fight this Russian threat hoax.
Philip, stay on the line. Going to put you on hold.
Okay.
Got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Philip in Virginia, and we're talking about, Trump's supposed crimes. And you need to realize we're in a war of lies right now. You have the liberals are lying, the conservatives are lying, the corporate media is lying, and whoever gets the most people to believe the lies wins. That's really what's going on. It's a war of lies. Nobody's out there telling the truth because the truth does not get them anything.
Yeah. And, like you say, we are in a war. And what's the first casualty of war? The truth. Yeah. Before I ask you another question real quick, from what you just said about conservatives lying, I was expressing my resentment about how the media is allowing this false narrative to be used to confuse the people and muddy the waters and everything about Trump withholding, the military aid to this hoax and false narrative that Russia is a threat to Ukraine. And the Russian. I'm still hearing them talking about this, Michael.
Yeah, they're
the
still
Russians
talking
invaded,
about it. The media is not allowing this to be told. The media is being ordered to tell this story. Right now, you've got military intelligence personnel in all of the newsrooms. They're all coordinating the stories. I mean, right now, there is less truth and accuracy in the American corporate media than there was in Pravda and Izvestia in the old Soviet Union.
Yeah, and like I said, they're still using the demonizing Russia with the false narrative that they invaded Ukraine and that they stole Crimea and all that stuff. And when you explain it to them how that whole annexation went down, they don't want to hear it. But just a reminder about everybody who thinks that the Russians are invaded Ukraine, and remember, Obama funded neo-Nazi groups that even Hitler was afraid of.
Yes.
During that whole thing. But so I am opposed to any military aid being sent, our tax dollars being sent to Ukraine, and I applaud Trump for doing that. Although he might have held it up for different reasons, but.
But I mean, the United States went into Ukraine. They basically orchestrated a putsch against Yanukovych. They installed Poroshenko, who was running Ukraine for the benefit of the United States. The Crimean people voted to secede from Ukraine, which is their right under the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Then they voted again in another referendum to merge with the Russian Republic, and that's what happened. And the American media is, oh, Russia stole Crimea. They've got to give it back. They're being evil, and basically the reasoning was that without Crimea, Russia does not have a warm water port on the Mediterranean. And so that was really what was at stake.
Yes. Now, concerning one of your comments you just made when you came back from the break, you were mentioning everybody's lying. I haven't really heard or picked up on any, or my memory might be failing, about any conservatives lying about, what's going on here. Does any come to your mind, right away about, what are they, anything they're lying about? Conservatives?
I think the conservatives they're probably pushing their own version of Biden's corruption story in Ukraine, because this is supposed to be Biden's scandal, and the liberals are trying to turn it into Trump's scandal, and no doubt the conservatives are pushing back.
Well, the guy came out, the former prosecutor from Ukraine came out and said that Biden's son, boy, did need to be investigated.
Yes.
And they're all saying, oh, it was a nothing burger,
Yep.
The left is saying it was a nothing burger. But anyway, one other thing, did you hear today about the rumor is that the so-called whistleblower is Mr. Bolton?
Yes, I've heard that report there, and but so far he's saying there was nothing said on the phone call that would have been inappropriate. And again, you need to understand, there is a treaty between the United States of America and Ukraine, goes back to 1999, calling for mandatory cooperation in criminal investigations. And so Trump was obeying the letter of the law.
Well, you can't do that if you're Trump or Republican or conservative or whatever. If you're a nationalist and want to do what's right for your own people. But anyway, all right. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. The phone lines are now open, and we're going to get on back here. All right, Hillary Clinton back in the news again. Boy, for somebody who supposedly has retired from public life, she's getting a lot of press coverage here. Hillary Clinton has won a pro-abortion Lifetime Achievement Award for calling killing babies a natural human Right. This is coming from the pro-abortion group NARAL. They celebrated their 50th anniversary, and they gave Hillary Clinton their Lifetime Achievement Award. And in between criticisms of Donald Trump, leaders of the radical pro-abortion group called Clinton our president and touted her pro-abortion record. So they're saying women's rights are human rights, and for 50 years, NARAL has taken on the toughest fight to protect our most fundamental freedom, which is the freedom to get rid of our babies. Yeah, she's going to run in 2020. She's out there getting all of her ducks in a row. She's getting all of her constituent groups lined up, going on out and saying, yes, I support you, and I support this, and I support that. Yeah, she's running. She's definitely running. All righty, there is yet another wrinkle in this whole Ukrainian mess here. And this goes back to the Obama administration. Ambassador Yovanovitch is a noted Trump hater who blocked Ukrainian officials from traveling to the United States to hand over evidence of Obama misconduct during the 2016 election to President Trump. Now, Yanukovych was U.S. ambassador to Ukraine during the 2016 election when the Ukrainian government was colluding with the Democratic National Committee and Hillary campaign to undermine the U.S. presidential election. Everyone's talking about, oh, Russia interfered with the 2016 election. They did no such thing. It was Ukraine. They were interfering on the side of Hillary. That's the way the liberals think. We're going to commit a crime, and we're going to say the conservatives did it. And the people will believe it because the media will tell them that. Okay, a staffer for Representative Adam Schiff's House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence went on a trip to Ukraine last month, sponsored and organized by the Atlantic Council think tank. Now, the Atlantic Council is funded by and routinely works in partnership with Burisma, the natural gas company at the center of the allegations regarding Joe Biden and his son, Hunter Biden. Sounds to me like they're trying to make sure that all the dead birds are appropriately buried. All right, let's go back to the phones here. Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
And Atlantic Council is also a mouthpiece for NATO. Because NATO
Yes.
was involved in the coup in Ukraine.
Yes.
In the EU, Brussels, and NATO's located in Brussels, in Belgium. So it's all the same group of people, all linked together. Joe Biden, Burisma. Isn't that amazing? How people can't figure this out. It's all an oligarchy. It's a world oligarchy with a small group of people in France and Britain and Canada and you know the route. You know.
Yeah.
But Mike, isn't it amazing with Hillary Clinton, though? They had no problem getting an award for aborting the indigenous population's babies, but yet I bet you she don't want to abort the third world's babies coming here.
Oh, she's welcoming them in with open arms.
Yeah.
And that's one of the real hypocrisies of the liberal movement is they want white people to kill their own babies and then open the borders so that the babies from the third world can flood on in.
And indigenous black babies, because they ain't got no problem with third world African babies coming in, but yet they don't have, go to the death chambers. That's it over here. They have no problem with that. But isn't it amazing? But it's not just her. It's around the world in the West.
Yeah.
You look at that same mindset. I wonder if they give out awards to is abortion legal in Sweden? Because they're all for global warming over there.
I have no idea. I imagine it probably is. Sweden is very, very liberal. And with all the massive rapes going on over there, I can imagine that abortion has become necessary.
And they're also liberal with decapitating your head from the rest of your body. Because like I said yesterday, they don't have a problem with telling jihadis to go fight. And then when you come back, you got a paycheck per month. You get put on some kind of like a social service assistance. That's crazy, right? I mean, isn't that nuts? Abortion, jihadis, this is what these people think. It blows my mind, to what these people are. And I wonder what they are capable of doing, you know, besides overthrowing countries and dropping bombs on women and the CIA is linked to all these people. You know, the CIA's intelligence agency is an elite club. You know, they get their marching orders from the elite. You know, that's the sad thing. And Mike, you know, I find amazing about the who was it? Chuck Schumer. When he made that comment on Trump's, we got the intelligence of 7 ways to. Somebody mentioned it yesterday. 7 ways till Sunday to get back at you. Well, how come they didn't get back at Dick Cheney and Karl Rove when they outed, rest in peace, Joe Wilson's wife? They didn't go. Do you know they didn't go after them?
No,
right?
They didn't. Well,
now,
probably
why?
because the outing of Valerie Plame was being done at the orders of Bush, and of course the Bush family are highest rank within the CIA.
And this is a word to the members of our Central Intelligence Agency. If they throw her over the bus, just think what they'll do to you and your family. This is the kind of crap that these people are. You know, these people are backstabbers.
There's no loyalty in CIA. I mean, we now know that Lee Harvey Oswald was a CIA asset. He was a CIA asset when he was in Russia. They brought him back to the United States. They needed a patsy for the killing of John F. Kennedy. That was Lee Harvey Oswald. No loyalty whatsoever.
Well, do you think there's anybody in the NSA and CIA that have loyalties up to a certain level, right? And after that certain level, even the Pentagon, after that certain level...
I think they have expediencies, things that they do that get things done, but I think loyalty could actually be seen as a weakness.
And do I still have any time left?
Unfortunately, I do not have my clock with me. I think you've got a few minutes.
Well, I want to, Jim from Illinois, I want to respond to some of the people. Jim from Illinois, I like when he calls in. He has a right to call in. I want him to call in, and he's right on a lot of stuff. Like he said he's not for the Democrats, but he does get his information from certain sources. But I asked Jim to go on to Duran, and he comes to your show, and just do some research because, you know, they say anonymous sources. I have an anonymous source myself. You know, I do my own research. I look through my own eyes. And with Trump, is Trump corrupt? Trump most likely is probably corrupt to a certain level, but is this a witch hunt? Yes, because if you look at the Russian collusion, it was bull crap. The Ukraine thing is bull crap. And I'll tell you why, because why would Trump do this?
He may be corrupt to a certain extent here. I think his big problem is he's inept.
Yeah, but Mike, the whole point is, at this moment in the timeline here, why would he do that? You know, knowing they're looking at him under a microscope, he wouldn't. And Jim from Illinois got to understand there's factions in this country. There's deep state. There's deep state.
Trump could be suckering the Democrats into a trap. Trump may know there's nothing there, and he's teasing the Democrats on. He's leading them on to overstep, their claims again, and basically another Russiagate. Russiagate was a huge, huge embarrassment for the Democrats. If Trump can trap them again and go on in and say, no, there wasn't anything impeachable about this phone call with the president of Ukraine, well, that's a double whammy going into the 2020 election.
Well, I just want people to know, look what they did to Putin and Assad and Iran when we know Israel and Saudi Arabia is wretched. We know that. We know this. So I don't understand why people don't think that, what's going on here is also not true, or people got to do their own research. Like,
because this is the United States of America, and we're truthful, and we're the greatest nation on earth, blah, 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 blah.
And Mike, that's all I got to have to say. Have a good night.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. And we're coming up here on another commercial break here. Apparently, author Peter Schweizer has dropped Biden corruption documents that proves Hunter Biden was involved in the sale of a U.S. company to China with potential military applications. So it's another Joe Biden pay-for-play scandal with China and literally selling our military technology to what could potentially be our next enemy in the world war. And here's an article that came on out from Global Research, basically saying what's going on here is we're seeing the entire corruption of U.S. foreign policy. That it's not just a corruption here, it's not just the Uranium One sale here, it's not just the F-35 sale, it's all being corrupted. It is all for sale by everybody. And that's why they want Trump gone, because he's not part of the game. That's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only thing that explains why so many people are out to get Donald Trump when he's basically given them almost everything that they want. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go right back to the phones to Sebastian in Sweden. Aloha, Sebastian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, hello, Mike. It's good to have you back on the continent.
Yes.
How do you feel being in? Yes, it must feel nice. Now, I heard. I think it was Justin. You were talking about abortions in Sweden, and since 1975, it's been legalized, and since then, there's been about 30 to 38,000 a year for
That's
abortions.
a lot.
And like you said, and I think it's 5 of 6 rapes committed in Sweden are done by the immigrants that came from 2015.
Yeah.
And we have bombings every day, shootings every day, and that was almost unheard of. At least it was in 1970. I think we had maybe 1 or 2 shootings a year in the whole country.
Yeah.
And that was an everyday occurrence. So, and I read today that Sweden is the most PC country in the world.
Oh, well,
It's
how
politically
wonderful
correct.
that we're looking at PC.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that you're not the most PC country in the world. It's just Sweden, so we take the lead on that. We get the gold. It's getting bad. It's getting worse every day. The economy is going down. The crown is falling from the euro and the dollar. It just fell another, I think, little percentage points. So it's really advantageous if people would like to come to Sweden because you get a lot of money for your dollar.
Well,
But
yeah,
for
we
us to
understand.
go
I mean,
there,
there's a lot of places around the world. I mean, I understand you can live quite comfortably on $2,000 a month down in Ecuador and Costa Rica. So, you know, it's just very expensive here in the United States of America. And the reason for that is Americans are paying more in taxes than they pay for their housing, food, medical care, education, everything else. Taxes are the largest single expense for the American people. No wonder we're hovering at the edge of poverty.
yeah, but we have large taxes here as well. We've always had.
Yeah, but
And
you get
especially
stuff for it. You
Yeah,
get
we
stuff
do.
for it.
I
You get
can't.
education, you get medical care. Here in the United States, you get taxed. You still have to borrow money to go to school. You get taxed. You still have to pay for your own health insurance. You know, it's just a big money sucking machine.
That's true. I have a friend. He's in Gothenburg now. He's staying there, and he's getting these treatments for prostate cancer. Right? He's going to stay there a month, and he gets 3 meals a day. They pay for it. They have a special, like a hospital hotel that people with long time treatments can stay in. And it's like, it's pretty cheap. It is, but we pay for it in tax.
All right. Well, Sebastian, I'm going to have to let you go. Mike. All right. Thanks a lot. We got to take a break for station identification, and we'll be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s. Along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Somebody has noticed that Joseph Biden's presidential campaign is scaling back the online advertising. They're cutting spending so severely since August. He's only investing a fraction of what his top rivals are on Facebook and Google. It's not a good sign. It may be that Biden is seeing the writing on the wall and getting ready to head on off into that sunset, which of course opens up that hole for Hillary to step on in here. Now, one of the big lies that we were being told by the New York Times is that Trump coerced the Australian Prime Minister into assisting his investigation into the origins of the Mueller probe. Now, the Australian Prime Minister's office has basically come out with a memo saying, no such thing happened. There was no coercion. We were ready to assist willingly. Once again, the New York Slimes got caught in a big lie here. All right, Ray McGovern, former CIA, very nice guy. I got a chance to meet him at the 10th anniversary of 9/11. And he's talking about the red whistleblower herrings. And Ray discussed the new theory that the whistleblower is a CIA officer who spent some time on detail to the White House. Now, Ray begins with a discussion on the policy of the relationship between the intelligence officer and the policymaker. In particular, the fact that the policymaker makes the policy and the intelligence officer merely provides information and otherwise keeps their mouth shut. So now we have this so-called intelligence officer whistleblower who's out there trying to dictate policy. All righty. Now, the other day we were talking about this story, and okay, let's do that. Can't get this thing to work. Sick of all this high tech that won't work. Apparently, Microsoft came out with a new emergency patch this morning, which broke the print spooler for a lot of people. I got to tell you, it's a little frustrating. All righty. So the other day we were talking about this story where apparently some months ago, the CIA changed the rules for whistleblowing to get rid of the need of firsthand knowledge. In other words, innuendo, hearsay was being allowed. And everybody was saying, well, that's completely inappropriate. You can't do that. Well, now, even though in the earlier declassified complaint, they indicated that it was secondhand knowledge, now they're trying to claim the whistleblower did have firsthand knowledge. He was there. He saw it happen. We don't need to worry about that. Despite that, the Deep State ICIG has released a statement on why it is necessary to change the whistleblower forms to include water cooler talk, rumors, hearsay, and cafeteria conversations. In other words, they're covering all their bases. Okay, let's go back to the phones. Tony in Puerto Rico. Aloha, Tony. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I have a quick question to ask. I'm sorry if I'm changing the subject a little bit. During World War I, wasn't Palestine part of the Ottoman Empire?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, like they say, to the victors go the spoils. You think the Balfour Declaration was a legitimate piece of legislation?
No, it wasn't. It was a piece of basically it was a piece of propaganda to say that Great Britain promised that Israel would get Palestine, but it had no legal force in law.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you very much here as well. And I can't figure that out. All right. The phone lines are now open. And 800-313-9443. And getting on back here. Now, here's a bizarre statement, and it shows just how deranged some of these people are in Washington, D.C. This came out of Cuzblue.com. Nancy Pelosi is expressing the hope that just because the Democrats are trying to destroy Trump's presidency shouldn't make Trump unwilling to work with them on their other issues. I mean, she actually came on out and said that even though we're trying to wreck your presidency, you really should cooperate with us on some of these other issues, like, I guess, open borders and more abortions and things like that. Meanwhile, a federal judge wants Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to explain why she blocks Twitter critics in court. Now, this is going to be an interesting case because not too long ago, President Trump was blocking some of the trolls and harassers on his account. He got taken to court. The courts declared President Trump's Twitter account a public forum, and therefore the First Amendment would apply. So the question is now, will Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez be subject to the same rule? Because she's a congresswoman. She's a public figure. I don't think it should be one set of rules for Alexandria and another for Donald Trump, but it may well turn out to be that way. Rashida Tlaib is being investigated by the Congressional Ethics Committee. Apparently, she is looking at a potential campaign finance violation. And the complaint suggests Tlaib may have reimbursed herself from her own campaign fund after the 2018 election when she was no longer a candidate. And the self-payments were first reported back in March by the Washington Free Beacon, who noted Tlaib had been paying herself from the campaign for several months, which you're not supposed to do, by the way. The other day, we talked about how Hillary Clinton came out with this very bizarre defense that women who were groped and fondled by Joe Biden just needed to get over it. And overtly, it looks like Hillary is trying to defend Joe Biden, but that's not really what's going on. She's trying to keep the issue alive. She wants people to keep on thinking about creepy Uncle Joe and how he inappropriately touches women and little girls. And it's actually working because Juanita Broaddrick came out today firing both barrels at Hillary for saying that women groped by Biden need to just get on over it. So Hillary set the trap and Juanita walked right on into it. Okay, bad news from the Bernie Sanders campaign. He's hospitalized for a blocked artery, and they have canceled his campaign events. And more than simply concern about the blockage in the artery, I mean, they put in 2 stents, but you know, a lot of people have been talking about Bernie Sanders and his age, and is he really up to being president? I have a feeling this incident is probably going to be the end of his campaign. Over in France, Nicolas Sarkozy is finally going to face trial for campaign finance fraud. Now, Sarkozy is claiming he was completely unaware of a scheme that allowed him to double the legal spending limit for his political campaign. He spent 43 million euro in his campaign. He still managed to lose. All right, down in Atlanta, Georgia, I guess they're getting kind of fed up with all these police exchange programs with Israel because activists are reigniting their fight against the Georgia International Law Enforcement Exchange, which is a program where police officers and law enforcement officials receive training from human violators such as Israel. And I would say that probably the people of Atlanta are tired of being treated like the Palestinians. I certainly would be. And they want the Israelis, they want to go back to an era where the police really did protect and serve instead of treat you like a king, as in Rodney. Okay, by the way, it's turned out the Twitter executive for the Middle East is a British Army PSYOPs soldier. The head of editorial for MENA is a part-time officer in the 77th Brigade, an information warfare unit which has worked on behavioral change programs in the region. So you've got to be very careful about social media. It's not just the flakes out there. It's not just the scammers. It's not just the trolls. You have paid professional propagandists out there, trained psychologists trying to manipulate you, to get you to think what the government wants you to think. Talk about 1984 here. All right, let's talk about the economy. It is not good. America's factories just suffered their worst month in a decade. And as a result, yesterday, the Dow dropped something like 300 points. And it was down over 500 a little while ago. It's above 400 now. But it's a good thing they can't open those windows on those buildings in Wall Street, or it would be raining stockbrokers right about now. This could trigger a panic because these American factories suffering their decline is because of the trade war with China and other countries. America has no place to sell the products they're making. Therefore, they're not making products and they're not selling them. This was a bad call. And it's not just the United States of America. Stocks have dropped across the globe as problematic economic indicators emerge in both East and West. So now, here is an interesting little story that came on out from touchconnect.com. Why can't four too big to fail banks worth $5.45 trillion pay back a $53 billion with a B loan? There's something going on here. There's more here than meets the eye. There's trouble brewing. The banks can't pay their debts. Their assets are locked up in repossessed properties and other hard assets that they can't get rid of. They have the government monopoly power to print and create money, and they're still in trouble. And of course, you and I, we can't create and print our own money, so how are we supposed to pay our debts? European PMI hits a 7-year low in September, another indicator of a recession dead ahead. And the Fed is continuing to pour money in emergency loans all over unnamed banks. Fed is offering $100 billion a day in emergency loans to unnamed banks. Nobody knows who's getting the money. Congress isn't interested. They're not going to hold a hearing. They don't care. They're too busy going after Donald Trump. They don't want you to know what banks are in trouble. That's really what's going on here. Because if the public finds out certain banks are in trouble, they'll be run on the banks, and that's what they are trying to prevent from happening. They don't want runs on the banks. Trump is considering delisting Chinese firms from the U.S. stock markets. This is another way for him to put pressure on China for the trade war, but it could backfire because major U.S. investors are at risk for billions of dollars in Chinese stocks. If Trump delists these stocks, these major U.S. investors are going to take a major, major, major hit. Like I said, one of the problems I have with Donald Trump is he's capricious. He's getting bad advice. He doesn't think things through. He just says, let's just try this. I'm beginning to think he's got a dartboard on the wall of the Oval Office, and he's got the names of countries on the rings, and he's got things on the darts. What are we going to do? We're going to sanction China. We're going to tariff Canada. We're going to bomb Syria. I really do think that's how he's setting his foreign policy. All right, let's go back to the phones here. Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I love your dartboard analogy. It's funny. The first thing I was actually going to say was your YouTube channel's down, but as soon as I got through the RBN, it went back up and it was like that down for like 15 minutes or so. But
well,
anyways,
that shouldn't be happening. I mean, we're using this new system, Verdo, but it's entirely possible that YouTube is censoring me because I'm saying things. Are. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to know where it was stuck?
Yes.
When you started talking about Donald Trump teasing the Democrats for this impeachment thing.
That would be a good place for them to, that would make a good place for them to cut the mic.
Yeah, like a friend of mine and myself were basically discussing the same thing last week because he's a real big Donald Trump fan. And there's not much else out there, but so anyway, as far as the banks are concerned, Mike, they have this ability to create, their currency out of thin air, and it's not money; it's debt. It's just pure debt.
Yeah, well, that's what the Federal Reserve can do. Your ordinary depositor banks cannot do that.
Well, no, they actually borrow it from the Fed, at a low interest rate, and then loan it back out. But just for the sake of argument's sake,
but nobody's borrowing right now. Nobody's borrowing. Nobody's buying cars. Nobody's buying houses.
Well, they see what's coming, right? And on top of that, we're at a saturation point, especially in Canada. We're one of the most indebted countries on the face of the planet.
Yes.
And, our state-sponsored propaganda website, the CBC, is talking about debt and deficits, and they don't even tell the truth. There's nothing factual in this article whatsoever. They don't even mention the indebtedness of the people in this country, not only publicly, but personal debt. And the fact that, unlike your country, you had a real estate correction in 2009. Canada didn't.
Yes.
Our houses, Mike, they're selling townhouses up here built on a landfill that was, closed up 20 years ago for $500,000 Canadian.
That's pretty heavy.
How much money do you have to make a year to be able to afford that, even at a low interest rate? It's ridiculous.
Well, down here in the United States, they're saying that you can live a middle-class lifestyle for $350,000 a year. It's complete and utter nonsense. No, you can't. You're just going to be barely struggling along for that kind of money.
Did you say $300,000 a year?
$350,000 a year. That's from the U.S. government. You can live a middle-class lifestyle on that much money. No, you can't.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's
and again, And again, the reason is because Americans are forced to spend more on taxes than food, clothing, healthcare combined. Anyway, listen.
The government actually put that out.
Yeah, they actually put that out. Al, gotta let you go. Gotta take a break for commercials.
Thanks,
we'll
Mike.
be right back.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And during the commercial break, I was looking at the Dow futures, and they're all over the place here. First place I looked at said it's going to be another bloody day on the Dow tomorrow. And then I went on over to another Dow future, and they said it'll be up 19 whole points. The Dow will grow 19 points. See, the panic is over. Everybody can relax and go home. A few more days like the ones we've just had, there will be a panic. All right, here's an interesting little story. This came from Chimp Planet Blogspot, and it purports, and I emphasize the word purports, to have the story of just exactly how Seth Rich was assassinated. And apparently he was detected taking a thumb drive out of the DNC headquarters. And apparently 2 MS-13 members were supposed to beat him up and take the thumb drive, but he fought back and they shot him with a .22 caliber handgun. They then took the genuine Seth Rich thumb drive, later gave it to a guy named Rosie at the DEA, and then they planted a fake Rod Rosenstein phony thumb drive on Seth Rich, according to John. The MS-13 killers drove to Seth Rich's house from South Carolina on stolen tags, and apparently this Rosie at the DEA was just absolutely furious at what had gone wrong. And it was wrong here. Okay, Mike Adams is out there and he's talking about this new Netflix movie, and a lot of people have been talking about this. This new Netflix movie fantasizes about carrying out the pre-crime murder of patriots. And what it basically is, it's liberals who are able to see into the future and determine who will be a conservative activist and just kill them off so they're never born to begin with. I think James Cameron has a lawsuit here because that was basically the theme of the Terminator. But that's it. And apparently Netflix is out there saying, yes, the liberals are going to get those conservatives before they even have a chance. It's a pre-abortion. That's the new idea. We're going to pre-abort all those conservatives out there. Well, any chance I ever had of getting a Netflix membership just went out the window here. People are still talking about Greta Thunberg. She's the new darling of the global warming movement. Religious leaders are proclaiming her the successor of Jesus, and how she's just, you know, this wonderful person. Turns out she's a professional actress. She has a page over at the Internet Movie Database, which is not that big a deal. I have a page at the Internet Movie Database. But apparently the private school head teacher has written a letter to parents of students who attend the same school saying Greta Thunberg is a little girl with mental problems. Now, Rodney Lynn, the principal of Coffs Harbour Christian Community Primary School in New South Wales, Australia, is being slammed for his comments about the climate access activists, because after all, you know, the Archbishop said that she's next to Jesus, you know, so how could she be crazy? How could she be, what's wrong with you that you don't believe as you're supposed to believe? Well, I think it's hard to really get into this human-caused global warming thing. And I'll admit right now here in Indiana, it's been rather warm, unusually. But out there in the West, boy, are they getting it. Mother Nature delivers a wintry blast to the Sierra, dumping several inches of snow on Lake Tahoe. And apparently the Cascades got their first snow. All-time snow records fell in Spokane. So yeah, go on and tell us about how human activity is warming the planet here. And don't forget that story that we had yesterday about how they've discovered 91 volcanoes underneath the ice sheet in Antarctica. So I don't think it's your SUV and your plastic bag that is melting the ice in Antarctica. I don't think that at all. All righty, let's see. Olympia had their inaugural freeze of the year at 32 degrees Monday morning, and apparently it got downright surreal. Spokane Airport received 1.9 inches of snow, which made it the snowiest September day in the city's history. Okay. Now, 4 asteroids buzzed by Earth today. The headline says, "Don't worry. 3 of them were discovered within the last 24 hours. We only missed 1 out of the 4. There actually is a reason to worry, though. And it has to do with the fact that the solar system is not just flying flat in the Milky Way. It bobs up and down through the thick portion of the Milky Way and the thin portion about once every 30,000 years. More about that when we come back.
are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking about the fact that 4 asteroids buzzed by the Earth in flybys today. Don't worry, they weren't very close. And the headline says, don't worry, 3 of them were discovered within the last 24 hours. Now, there's a confidence builder for you right there. You know, big old honking rock coming at you and you've only got 24 hours notice. Not much you can do there. Somebody told me that an asteroid was coming to hit right where I was. I'd be up on the roof naked with a bottle of scotch saying, "You want a piece of me?" There is a reason to worry. Now, it's true that one of the reasons that we are hearing more about these asteroids is because quite a bit of investment has been spent in technology to try and track near-Earth objects. And they're starting to get results. They found that that one hyperbolic object, Oumuamua, that obviously came from outside our solar system and left our solar system. And now they've got this new one that's going to go right by the sun in December, and I suspect tidal forces will tear it apart at that particular point. But there's another aspect in astronomy that a lot of people are not aware of. We tend to think of the Milky Way as this giant cosmic frisbee spinning smoothly through space like a giant ice capade or something. And nothing could be further from the truth, because our solar system actually bobs up and down. Part of its time, it's above the central part of the disk, and for part of the time, it's below the central part of the disk. Obviously, when it's above and below the central part of the disk, not a whole heck of a lot is happening. But every 30,000 years, it passes through that center thick portion of debris, and it's been about 30,000 years since that last happened. So one of the reasons we may be seeing more asteroids, especially like that one that came down over Russia, completely unexpected, is that we're simply in that part of the galaxy where we're going to get rocks hurled at us. So buy a helmet, what can I tell you, or a bottle of scotch. A lot of people are still talking about this horrendous disaster with these genetically modified mosquitoes. And the idea was that they were going to go to this company called Oxitec, which was based in Great Britain, and they announced plans to release genetically engineered transgenic mosquitoes into the wild. In other words, they don't know if they're mosquitoes or mosquitettes. And the idea being that when they would mate, they would produce offspring that would be unable to reproduce because they were transgenic. That was the theory. Fortunately, it did not work out. Not only have the mosquitoes evolved to get around this modified gene, but they've combined with some of the other genes in the mosquitoes to create what's being called a super mosquito. And apparently, they're saying this is a catastrophe in South America, could kill millions. And as I understand it, this was funded in part by Bill Gates, who, as you know, wants more room on planet Earth anyway. So what's ever going to happen? All righty. We've all seen the film Despicable Me and its sequel. And it's a fun movie. It really, really is. Okay, so down at Universal Studios, you know, they have actors that wear the costumes of the characters, and they're there to be photographed with the customers. So they had this employee who was playing Gru, and he got together with some kids and he put his hand on his shoulder, and inadvertently, looking at the photo, you can tell it's not deliberately, he does that little okay sign. Now, when I was a kid, okay meant okay, everything's fine. But today, the gods of political correctness have decreed it's a hate symbol. If you do this, it means you hate somebody. So they got this picture of this actor playing Gru, putting his hand on this 7-year-old autistic girl, and he gets fired for it. I think as a society, we have become way too touchy. Whatever happened to live and let live? Whatever happened to, I goofed, I'm sorry, I did not mean to offend? Amazing here. All right. Many years ago, back in 1979, there was an incident called the Vela incident. And it was where satellites in space detected a double flash signature of a nuclear test going off. And it was all kept hushed up, and nobody knew what was going on. It turns out that former President Jimmy Carter knew it was Israel and South Africa. And he decided that making this discovery public would damage his bid for re-election. So they knew that Israel had done the Vela incident along with South Africa, and Carter kept it from us to get reelected. Now, interestingly enough, when the former government of South Africa collapsed, they found documentation showing Israel was trying to sell South Africa a nuclear weapon. The very activity the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty is supposed to prevent, which, as a side note, Israel still refuses to sign. So the question here is, how many nuclear weapons has Israel sold around the world, and to whom? That's what Brewster, Jennings, and Associates was supposed to be tracking when it was destroyed with the outing of Valerie Plame. All righty, here we go. Over in Israel, I guess they don't like the press very much. Israel committed 415 violations against Palestinian journalists in this past year. And apparently, they love to smash the cameras. They love to shoot the journalists, primarily in the legs. They're trying to send a message. Don't cover what we're doing to the Palestinians or you're going to get hurt. And my hat is off to the courage of these Palestinian journalists who are still going on in there with their cameras, with their telephoto lenses, hopefully with their bulletproof vests. They're standing up to Israel, and Israel definitely does not like it. Okay, here's an interesting little story. It came out of Investment Watch blog, and it says Signs of the Times. And it's talking about the sudden swarms of earthquakes that have hit Texas, Oklahoma, San Francisco, and the New Madrid fault zone. Now, Texas and Oklahoma can be explained by all the fracking that's going on. San Francisco, that could be the Cascadia Fault getting ready to let go. And here is where yours truly kind of blew it, moving here to Indiana, because as it turns out, we're on the northeast edge of the New Madrid fault zone. And for those of you who are seismological historians, the New Madrid fault zone is the site of the strongest earthquake in U.S. history. It was something like 8.5. It was so powerful, it actually caused the Mississippi River to flow backwards for an hour. So it's a little nerve-wracking. I mean, we lived in Southern California. We had, earthquakes all the time. Blah, 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 blah. And we moved to Seattle, Washington, and we said, okay, we can relax. Don't have to have an earthquake there. Immediately had an earthquake, biggest one in 25 years. Blah, 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 blah. So we moved on down to Hawaii. We moved on to Oahu and said, well, okay, the volcano will erupt on the other island. It's not going to bother us. And then, of course, we had that big earthquake, knocked out the electricity for 3 days. So now we're in Indiana. We're well away from the earthquakes. Apparently, no, that's not the case. And unfortunately, we have some family members who are fortunately moving, but at the moment, they're right dead center in the New Madrid fault zone. So I'm going to be getting a new quake alarm. It was one of the other things I left behind in Hawaii. Who thought I was going to need it? Who thought I was going to need a quake alarm in Indiana? All right, more information is coming on out about the Boeing 737 MAX. And a senior Boeing engineer has filed an internal ethics complaint this year saying that during the development of the 737 MAX jet, the company rejected a safety system to cut costs, equipment that he felt could have reduced the risks that contributed to the 2 fatal crashes. We're going to save some money. We're going to take out the safety gear. If the plane crashes, they've got insurance. Now, Boeing has provided the complaint, which was reviewed by the New York Times, to the Department of Justice as part of a criminal investigation into the design of the 737 MAX, according to a person with knowledge of the inquiry who requested anonymity. They're never going to get that plane into commercial service again. Nobody's going to want to get on that aircraft. They're going to paint them gray and they're going to repurpose them for military purposes. Boeing used to be this really, really good company, and I'll tell you what I think happened. As part of this diversification, offshoring, I think Boeing let go their old white guy heritage engineers who knew how to make airplanes. And they brought in a bunch of H-1B visa holders and foreign students who were willing to work for less and said, yeah, they can do it. They can make the airplanes for us. And you have the 737 MAX, that's got problems. Apparently, they discovered wing fractures in the 737 now. They're trying to get the 777X off the ground. They're not having too much luck with that one. Boy, they really wrecked the company thinking cheap. They really, really did. And Boeing's was an amazing company. When Claire and I lived in Seattle, Washington, we got to tour the Boeing Museum, got to actually walk on Air Force One, one of the 747 versions, and, got to see just all this incredible stuff. And now it's like not just Boeing, but Lockheed, General Dynamics, they're all coming out with this overpriced junk that our kids are going to be expected to go fight a war with. It's complete nonsense here. Also in Seattle, there's a startup company, Picnic, that has developed a robot that can make 300 12-inch pizzas per hour and 180 18-inch pizzas per hour. No way would I go in there. I'm a great believer in human labor. I'm a great believer in keeping people working. This idea of automation and robotization, how are people going to earn the money to buy the products being made? And I don't understand why people in economics and government and corporations don't seem to understand that. If you're not paying people to work in your company, where are they going to get the money to buy the products you're making? It's that simple. Can't understand it here. All righty, apparently Google is now going full throttle with health censorship. They're doubling down on big pharma drugs and disease. They're basically slamming down any web pages that talk about alternative forms of health treatment or homeopathic treatment or things that might work like turmeric. And it's kind of interesting because this medication that I'm on for my FIO with a Wagga Wagga, somebody wrote on in and said, actually, turmeric is better for it than the prescription medication. Can't find it anywhere online. The other day, I was writing a story about the snowstorms hitting the West. And unfortunately, because I don't have my main machine here, I don't have my library of ClimateGate cartoons that I've done over the years. So I went over to Google and I typed in human-caused global warming site : whatreallyhappened.com. Nothing came up. It's all being blocked. We need to find some new search engines that respect freedom of speech. And I can imagine that probably Google is getting a huge amount of money for this. Facebook is getting a huge amount of money for this. Twitter is getting a huge amount of money for this. To just sit there and say, yes, we'll be the gatekeepers and we're not going to let people get any information about nutrition or health or alternative. It's all going to be push the product, push the product, push. You will buy this Prozac. Speaking of which, the first of the Prozac first trial is coming to court. And apparently it is the start of thousands of trials of people who were driven to acts of violence and murder by Prozac. Now, obviously, Prozac is out there trying to find some way to kill this whole thing, make it go away. I mean, the truth is coming to light, but who cares about the truth? This is all about the money. And if this first trial results in a conviction, you're going to see all the other trials resulting in convictions too. And you're going to see the makers of Prozac, they're going to be saying, oh, gee, we have to give up our money. And look, we're sorry we caused a lot of people to commit mass shootings, but you know, it's modern science and technology, and every once in a while, we made a goof. We're really sorry. Can we keep our money? All righty. Dr. Marcia Angell, she's a physician, longtime editor-in-chief of the New England Medical Journal, one of the most prestigious peer-reviewed medical journals in the world alongside The Lancet, and said, you simply have to understand something, that the CEOs of these pharmaceutical companies feel their primary responsibility is to the shareholders, not to the patients. They don't care if they make you sick. In fact, if they make you sick, they make more money. We'll be right back after these few words.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy, but I must admit lately I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. A little bit of a sad story, and a lot of it has to do with the fact I'm an aviation enthusiast, In fact, I'm going to share a little story that Claire's probably going to be embarrassed about. The very first time I told Claire that I loved her, we were on an AWACS. I'm not kidding you. That's what was going on. And I like antique airplanes. I loved the World War I fighters, not the killing part, but just the way they were built and put together. So there was a bit of a tragedy over at Connecticut's Bradley Airport where a reconstructed World War II B-17 Flying Fortress bomber crashed. 2 dead, more injured. And I love seeing these aircraft in the air. I don't play computer games other than flight simulators. Flight simulators, space flight simulators, that's it. That's what I do. But there comes a point where you have to say, look, this is no longer safe to fly, and it's time to put it in a museum so that future generations can appreciate it. So that was really, really kind of sad. Okay, now there's a startup that has invented underwear that you can wear for weeks without cleaning them, because washing your skivvies is extremely harmful to the environment. And once again, I'm ahead of the curve. Okay. No, not really. Claire's shooting me dirty looks here right now. Okay, San Francisco, you're going to love this one. San Francisco woman, 102 years old, passes away. She has a DirecTV subscription, and it's charging her estate an early termination fee. I mean, come on, guys. The lady died. Show a little heart there. All right, Spain recently had a program where Sephardic Jews, descendants of Sephardic Jews expelled from Spain in 1492, could apply for Spanish nationality. I actually thought about doing this for a while. And basically, they had 132,000 Sephardic Jews who applied for Spanish nationality. And this all goes back to 1492, when Queen Isabella, who was very nice to Christopher Columbus and not so nice to the Jews, ordered Spain's Jewish community to either convert to Catholicism or be burned at the stake. The only other option was exile. My family obviously chose exile, or I would not be here. We actually fled to Portugal and stayed there until the attempted assassination of the king, at which point we found ourselves in problems again, and we went, this was the era of the black ships. We went to Shanghai. I need to try and get Bobby Kennedy on the show here, because he's apparently gone public now that private security guard and part-time CIA employee Thane Eugene Cesar has passed away, because Bobby Kennedy is convinced that's who shot Robert Kennedy and not Sirhan. Sirhan did put a bullet in Bobby Kennedy, but it was a non-fatal wound. There's the music. Time for Claire and I to get on out of here. We've got things we got to get done this afternoon. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots to share with you. Please spread the word for RBN. Spread the word for whatreallyhappened.com. Donate to RBN. They need the money. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. This is hour number 3. My mistake. My bad. My bad. The control room is yelling at me. Claire is yelling at me. Okay. All righty. I ran out of talking points and I thought the show was over. All right, we're going to do hour number 3, and I'm going to need a lot of phone calls.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on. What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And here we are back to hour number 3, and my mistake. And I think a big part of it was we didn't get a lot of phone calls. And it just sort of felt like the show was coming to an end here. And there hasn't been a lot of phone calls. I mean, we had Dustin call in, but we could use some phone calls here right now because I'm literally out of talking points. All right, so let's go over to the members shared page and see what's happening over there. And member submitted news. There's always good stuff happening there. I swear to God, we're going crazy in this country. We are going crazy in this country. Let's see, we have a caller on the line talking about the Dow ending 494.42 down, NASDAQ 123 down, S&P 52 down. And let me see what the pre-market trading says is going to happen. Now, they're all being very optimistic here, but that's over at CNN Business. We'll see what happens when it happens here. Okay, so we have this story. There's a lawsuit apparently coming out of government slaves here. Apparently, this police officer kidnapped a woman, took her to a lake, stripped to his underwear to then baptize her. That's a little bit out there. I mean, technically in the state of California, I'm an ordained minister. I haven't stripped to my underwear and baptized anybody. I did do communion with Manischewitz wine and oatmeal cookies, but that was about as far as my religious observances went here. Taxpayers are going to be held liable after a video shows cops searching a man's anal cavity over a window tint stop. Now you think about that. Okay, in some states, you're allowed to tint your windows. They can't be tinted too dark. Apparently, the police pulled over this guy's truck because the window tint was too dark, and then he proceeds to do an anal cavity search. What does he think he's going to find in there? Window tint? Bottles of window tint? The taxpayers are on the hook for that one here. And we're starting to see more and more of the corporate media start to come on out about 9/11. We had that CNBC talking head saying that, yeah, Building 7 had to be a controlled demolition. Corporate media is finally talking more and more about the Saudi role in 9/11 and asking why we're giving them our troops. Well, I've got a better question. If Saudi Arabia did 9/11, why did we bomb Afghanistan and Iraq? I mean, doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. It's like when Dick Cheney shot his lawyer. You know, grouse, 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 lawyer. Amazing. Over in Canada, they're being told to stop taking aspirin because of the potential harm outweighs the benefits. And I know down here in the United States of America, if you've had a heart attack, or even if you haven't, they recommend what is called the heart healthy dose. I think it's 31 milligram, comes in a special bottle, it's got a little heart on there. But apparently up in Canada, there's new research saying that you likely should not be taking aspirin to prevent a heart attack or stroke if you've never actually had one, that could actually trigger one. Story coming on out of Investment Watchdog saying basically the same thing I was saying when YouTube cut me out. It's going to turn out that Trump set this whole thing up. He embarrassed the Democrats, the liberals, with Russiagate, and now he's going to do the same thing with Ukrainegate. Mark Dice is out here, and he's talking about the possibility Twitter could actually go away because, you know, you've got Kamala Harris is out there wanting to suspend the president's Twitter account. Well, she can't do that unless Twitter itself goes away. That's already been established in a court of law. You cannot make the president's Twitter account go away. He's a public figure. Isn't it an amazing how desperate these people are getting? Just how desperate they are getting here. You're going to love this one. Up in Seattle in the public schools, math is being interpreted through the lens of oppression. In other words, it's like Tom Lehrer used to say about new math, you know, the idea is to understand what you're doing rather than to get the right answer. And that's literally what they're saying up in Seattle is who has the right to say that the answer is right or wrong? 2 + 2 could be 5. Right, Winston? What are we doing to ourselves? Mathematics is the language of science and engineering. It is not subject to political will. But that's what they're doing in the Seattle public schools. Oh, you can't say that person had the wrong answer. You're being oppressive. You're being oppressive. Oh, you're definitely oppressing that person here. Oh, it's amazing. Apparently, Trump is responding to Kamala Harris's comment about ending his Twitter account with a word that I cannot use on the radio without the FCC coming down on us. Okay. Seattle Public Schools teaching is called Math Ethnic Studies. That's what they're calling it. Math Ethnic Studies. Who gets to say if an answer is right? I mean, that's how incredibly insane this country has become. I'm sorry, 2 + 2 is 4. And it's not likely to change unless you want to go into like base 2 or something. And if you want to go into base 8 or base 8 or hexadecimals. 2 + 2 is 4. It's the way it works. You don't get to say it's 5, and if you say otherwise, you're oppressing me. You're oppressing me because you're racist. Amazing here. Apparently, there is a new emoji out called the Sexy Peach. It's considered the newest symbol of the resistance. And by the way, I just got iOS 13.011 on my cell phone and my iPad. Apparently, the first one that came out had some problems. And some of the emojis they have on there, it almost seems to take up a little too much room. You know, I got the app to make an emoji of myself, which I've used exactly one time, because I know what I look like, and the people I talk to know what I look like. Gazing over. All righty. Right now we're seeing this battle, if you will, for, you know, Adam Schiff and Donald Trump. Tom Fitton basically got on Adam Schiff's case, saying that the game is over, that Trump has got options that he can use. And again, the only thing that makes sense to me, the reason everybody wants Donald Trump out of the Oval Office is that they're all involved in this giant criminal enterprise, gun, drug running, the Clinton Foundation, the Uranium One deal, and all the rest of it. And Trump's not part of the team, so they want him out. Okay, we have some callers on the line here, so let's go to Jeff in Colorado. Aloha, Jeff. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Jeff, are you there? Okay.
Yeah.
There you are, Jeff. I was about to put your face on a milk carton.
Pushed the wrong button there.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing okay, except I don't have the buttons here.
How's your, are you acclimating to the climate out there in Indiana?
Slowly but surely. It's actually unusually warm for this time of year for Indiana, but given that we're from Hawaii, it actually feels rather comfortable. And like I said, I'm getting all these people are sending me these T-shirts, which is really quite lovely here. And by the way, I am a medium, and so we're getting.
How does the days and nights different out there? Because I know out when you're out in the ocean, you get instant darkness almost. You know, when the sun sets and stuff, and when you're out in the world,
definitely up here.
It hangs around.
The dusk and the dawn is a lot longer, and of course, as we get into the winter months, the days are also a lot shorter. And it is quite a bit different than it was in Hawaii. Hawaii, it was amazing. You'd be sitting out on the back porch, and it would be daylight. You'd blink your eyes, and it was night. Not quite, but you get where I'm going with that.
Okay, the reason I called you was you mentioned something about when Dick Cheney shot his buddy down there on that supposed hunt down there in Texas or whatever.
Yeah, the caged hunt. You got to be a real manly man to do a caged hunt.
Well, that was the, kind of the tipping point for me to start looking into, conspiracies and crap like that was when he shot that guy. He used a certain size of shot when you're hunting them birds.
Yeah.
And the number of pellets that was removed from that guy was far in excess of what one cartridge would carry. He was shot
that depends
times.
on the range. I mean, if he was shot at close range, more of the pellets are going to hit him. The whole point of a shotgun is the pellets will spread on out here. The part that really got me upset about it is that Cheney got to get the guy that he shot to apologize on TV.
I know, that was unreal.
I'm sorry I got in the way of your bird shot and ruined your pheasant hunt here, and I'm sure all these scars will go away eventually.
I don't know, but I heard that he was shot at a range of about 30 yards. Well, at 30 yards, the spread on that size of shot wouldn't have put that many pellets in him from one shot.
Depends on the choke.
I always thought, well, yeah, but I'm still saying, I didn't believe that.
I don't think he intended. I don't think he intended to shoot the guy. Certainly not in front of a bunch of witnesses. I think he was just out there and he was drunk and he tripped and he pulled the trigger and he shot the guy.
Dick Cheney, who knows what he'd do?
Well, Dick Cheney is many things, but he's not stupid enough to actually shoot somebody in front of eyewitnesses.
I don't know. Okay. Anyway, you just mentioned that about that, and I just figured I'd let you know. That's where I became involved with, the news ain't what they tell us and stuff, you know. All right,
Well,
carry
we're the most
on,
lied
man.
to people on the face of the earth. I mean, that's the reality we got to deal with right now. Okay,
Oh,
Jeff.
yeah.
Jeff, thanks an awful lot for the
Hey,
phone
yeah,
call. We're going to go to Mark in Florida. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for letting me in. I don't know how close you are to the Central and Eastern time zone, but you'll catch on pretty soon.
The Eastern time zone is about 5 miles that way.
Yeah, I know you're pretty close.
And yeah,
and the arrested baptism and the anal cavity search, that's Hamilton County, Tennessee, Chattanooga. Those guys are mad. They're just mad men. I've been keeping up on it for quite a while. They're just mad. But what I want to get to is, imagine this, that Trump is on the same philosophy as the Democrats and the Republicans, but he's just a different crime family seeking to take over the controls. So he's in on all this, and all this show that we get for impeachment and all this. Now, I think he loves it and enjoys it, and actually serves his purpose because it helps his side of the crime family take over the other side of the crime family. And I'd like your thoughts on that, because I think he's in on it. I think this is all just a show to make us think he's a good guy when he's really not.
well, I don't think he's a good guy. I think he's an idiot. But I don't think he's head of a crime family. I'm sure that probably they've had some very shady business dealings, but we're not talking about the scale of crime that we see from the CIA or the FBI or the NSA or the Clintons. Compared to those people, Trump is a piker. But I do think that Trump is, in fact, luring the Democrats back in to another huge embarrassment like Russiagate.
Yeah, but like you said, I think this is just a battle over crime families. Not that Trump's the head of it; he's got his controllers or his handlers. But it's just a fight between 2 or 3 crime families seeking to take over and be the rulers of the world, as opposed to the other guys being the rulers of the world.
Well, in that context, I'm sure there's probably 20 or 30 different crime families who want to take over the world. Well, I think it's only 2.
Well, exactly. I don't disagree with that, but nobody at all, CIA, FBI, Congress, mayors, governors, nobody at all has been arrested for anything related to the swamp.
Yes.
Nothing has ever happened related to the swamp is what so all the swamp creatures get to live because they don't, unless you're
the swamp
Jewish, I suppose, or Jewish mafia, you don't kill your own.
No, you don't. You don't. And
Yeah,
I remember reading a story about where there was this prosecutor who was literally handed a list: do not prosecute these people, from somebody at the Central Intelligence Agency. I mean, CIA really does seem to be running a good portion of the country. They are everywhere. They're ubiquitous. They actually tried to recruit me when I was at CBS Television City years ago in Hollywood, but I failed my initial test to wreck somebody else's production, which I've always been kind of glad for because I'm not the CIA type. I'd make a good analyst, but I'd be a lousy field agent.
Well, I'd even throw in that Jesse Ventura was met by the CIA, and I suppose that's why he did one term. He said, well, I don't want to be shot. I'll just walk out.
Well, I think Jesse Ventura just got sick of the political mess. I remember watching that video debate where there were these unwed mothers who were demanding the state pay for their kids. And Jesse Ventura said, why should the taxpayers pay for the bad choices you made? And these girls just started screaming, how could you be so cruel? And I think Jesse Ventura just kind of got fed up with all of that. Anyway, listen, Mark, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be back with more phone calls after these few words.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make
Okay, looks like we had a technical glitch there where we lost our sound. And so before we go back to the phones here, a couple of late-breaking stories that are just now showing up. Apparently, Saudi Arabia's ruling
will continue to flow like that morning.
Okay, are we having sound or not sound? And all right, well, let me get back to the story here. Apparently, Saudi Arabia's ruling family is beginning to turn on Crown.
Go down in Gaza tonight.
Sorry, Mike, my browser crashed.
All right, so here we go. Well, we're coming up on the end of the show anyway. Saudi Arabia's ruling family is beginning to turn on Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Apparently, the strike on the oil refinery has raised fears that the Crown Prince cannot actually defend the kingdom properly, which, yeah, would be the point, especially when you couple it with those three divisions they lost to the Houthis along the border there. Another rather interesting story that we need to look at here is apparently the protests in Iraq are really expanding, and there are now gunfights breaking out in southern Iraq as protests spread nationwide. So, oh good, another nation that we've utterly, completely destroyed here. And there's going to be a lot of bloodshed because you need to remember that underneath Saddam Hussein, gun laws were very free in Iraq. You could buy an automatic weapon. They didn't have the gun laws in Iraq that they have here in the United States of America. You know, if you wanted a gun, go buy a gun. All right, let's take a phone call here from Al in Canada. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me again. The reason why I called I'm going to get at that in a sec, but you mentioned the CIA controlling your country. Truman created it. There's actually a Ben Garrison cartoon that you've seen, right?
Yes.
It's with JFK, and then like now, it's perfect, isn't it?
Yes. Well, even when Truman created the CIA, even at the time, he said, "This is a dangerous thing that I'm doing."
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did. Now, are you aware? Or I bet you are, but you don't really talk about it a lot. That the Pope is actually trying to how would you call this? Merge Islam with Christianity.
Yeah, Chrislam.
To the point where, yes, exactly, to the point where it brings us closer to a one world religion.
Except that Judaism doesn't fit in there.
Well, who's to,
there's going to be Judaism, and then there's going to be everything else mushed together.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly. That was the point I was going to make, Mike. And you can see there's actually a picture, and it's the Star of David's right at the top and in the middle of it all. So it makes sense, though, when you look at how things are run around this world. I'm not talking about ownership, talking about something that Kiss bass player said. Jews don't play football; we run football.
Yes.
Gene Simmons.
Yes.
After he found out he was Jewish, because he didn't know.
Oh, come on! He knew he was Jewish all along. Come on, he knew it.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did. But you remember they had that series on TV? I don't know, like 25, 30 years ago, whenever it was.
Yeah.
It was with Gene Simmons, right?
Yeah.
And his wife surprises him by now saying, "Hey, we just found out you're Jewish! Yay! We're saved."
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
I appreciate your time, Mike.
All right. Okay, so we're going to let you go here and switch over to Ken in Fort Worth. Aloha, Ken. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Howdy. Jay Sekulow on his radio show makes a point. California passed that law that you got to give it. Trump's got to give up tax stuff. He's adding to they're adding to the Constitution. That's a no. You can't do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it looks like the Supreme Court's going to throw that out.
Well, wait, after the next election?
No, before the next election.
Or right now. I'm afraid it's going to run past the election.
Primaries. For the primaries.
Who knows? I'm going to throw it out tomorrow. Hey, now that you're in Indiana, get yourself a light, wide snow shovel and alcohol. Thaws out everything, and get yourself a nice pair of 4-buckle Arctic boots. And when you walk, keep your legs far apart, and you'll do good.
I will keep that advice in mind, but
you'll find that pays off.
We've got to get antifreeze into the car. We've got to get all-weather tires in the car. We've got all this stuff, all that stuff to do. All right. Well, listen.
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I'm going. Bye.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Mo in Florida. Aloha, Mo. Well, welcome to the show. I'm probably going to have to take you through this next commercial break. What's on your mind?
Okay, Michael, I'll ask you, first of all, great show. I don't know why you don't have 4 billion phone calls. You're the best. And I'm not just flattering you. I mean, I love your show. And I love the way you view the world, but because you tell it like it is, at least from your viewpoint. But my question is, I have a question, but first of all, I want to ask you this. If you take me through the break, fine, I'll get your opinion on something. But
actually, this is the break here right now, so just stay on hold. Stay on hold. Don't hang up. I'm going to come right back to you.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Hey, this check is wrong. I worked a holiday and 7 hours of overtime. Not getting paid correctly is a real pain. It could also hurt our boss if our company provides out-of-compliance checks. That's right, construction companies doing business with the government can get fined, or officials of the companies can go to jail if the checks aren't right. It's a law. The Davis-Bacon Act has 30 compliance issues for every check, but there is an easy way for construction companies to be in compliance. EMARS offers Compliant Client, a web-based system that finds and corrects all 30 of the possible out-of-compliance check issues. Users of Compliant Client report an 80% savings in time and money. Running a weekly payroll usually takes about 5 minutes. All 15,000 plus clients of EMARS have never had a legal compliance issue. Plus, they sleep better on check day. Contact EMARS at emarsinc.com or call 480-595-0466.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. I think we're still talking with Mo in Florida. And Mo, what was it you wanted to say next?
Well, I just had a comment and then a question. But this is not what I called in for, but can you sometimes it's so hard to believe Bill Cheney hasn't been, or Dick Cheney, I'm sorry, hasn't been arrested. Or, the guy is just the most evil person. Anybody can find this out.
Unfortunately, we have a two-tiered society where there's ordinary people like you and I who can be sent to jail for a marijuana cigarette. And then you have the untouchables, people who they're never going to see the inside of a courtroom. Doesn't mean they don't get rid of. When you look back at the John F. Kennedy assassination, and Jim Garrison came on out and discovered that Clay Shaw had been involved in the conspiracy, and the CIA was able to sabotage the trial to get Clay Shaw acquitted. But shortly thereafter, he was seen being driven away from his home in an ambulance and never seen again. And then look what they did to Jeff Epstein. Right. Look what they did to Jeff Epstein.
No, No, you're totally right. I think it's just when they got away with the Kennedy thing, that was a Rosetta Stone for them. They just figured that, hey, if these people are that stupid, we can do anything, right? But hey, listen.
Well, it's not like John F. Kennedy was the first president to be assassinated. I mean, if you, we had Abraham Lincoln. If you read my article on All Wars Are Bankers' Wars, you're going to find a long list of presidents who died under very suspicious circumstances for trying to take on the private central bank.
No, that's true. That's true. But I mean, in our modern era, where someone was actually caught on film. But the question they just kind of threw at you, because I thought you're like the perfect guy for this, but you know how you're saying, and I totally agree with you. 2 + 2 is 4, and they're trying to say this and that. But put quantum computers in there. 2 + 2 may be 4, but it may be something else. Think about that one.
Well, that's not the way quantum computers work. And they have the potential to be very, very powerful, but they're not magical. And once again, I'm seeing all this propaganda coming from the NSA that they're building this quantum computer that will break any code out there that anybody can think of. And obviously, if you don't have the methodology, you can't break the code. Let them build their quantum computer. I'll send them an encrypted message as a challenge.
Well, I do think it's coming, Mike. I mean, you know more about than I could ever dream about computers, because I'm not a, I don't understand them that well, but I do understand a little bit about quantum computers, what I've, looked into, and it's pretty, there is my point was there's no definitive, maybe there's no definitive on and off, yes or no. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, of course, that's not the way that they work. The way quantum computers work is they work using the quantum states of the components to hold additional information. So instead of it simply being binary 0 and 1 like they do with an electron, you can have quantum states of 8 or 16 based on spin, polarity, various things like that. It allows the quantum computer to hold a lot more data, but the bandwidth going through the computer as far as capacity is concerned, it remains the same. If you send in only 20 bits of data to a quantum computer, it could spread all over the place inside the computer, but when it comes on out, it's still 20 bits of data. And, I'll issue the challenge here right now. I'll bet my old Commodore VIC-20 that when the NSA comes out with their code-breaking quantum computer, I'll be able to beat it.
Well, I hope you're around for another 30 years, and you probably will be, but I think that day is coming where it's like the universe is infinite, small is infinite, and we're just kind of living in this bubble to where we think we know what is true, what is false, and in some ways that's right, but in the other, there's another, say quantum way of looking at things, and I think we really have to all admit to ourselves we don't know.
Well, there's a lot that we don't know, but we have to just respect the things that we really do know. And as far as my being around for 30 years, as you know, I just went through this little medical kerfuffle, if you will, and got the full workup. And I'm actually in pretty good shape for a guy my AGE. Anyway, listen, we got to let you go here, and we're going to switch over to Mike in Brazil. Aloha, Mike in Brazil. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike.
Mike in Brazil.
Yes.
There you
do
are.
You hear me?
I hear you now.
Okay, here I am. I haven't left.
Well, you have to be someplace.
Okay. First of all, you need to put antifreeze in your radiator, regardless of where you live. Okay, because it prevents rust of the radiator, and you know as well as I do that radiator jobs are very expensive. You have to buy either a reconditioned one or a new one, which is probably going to take about $300 out of your pocket. Maybe depending on the car, maybe even $400. So I know from my own experience that I always use the reconditioned radiators, and I always put antifreeze, and I was living in Southern California, just in Northridge. I was there when the earthquake hit. Okay, so regardless of the climate where you live, you always have to put 30-70 antifreeze. Okay, if you live in a colder climate, then you have to put like 40-60. So okay, so let's get this aside now. The reason I called, okay, was about the Social Security, because we were talking about this collapse of the government. And but before I get to that, first you need to realize that we're being ruled. When I say we, I mean you, because I don't live in the United States. You do.
Yes.
So you have to realize that you're being ruled by a what they call it's like a criminal syndicate. It's like a criminal industrial complex.
Yes.
And probably that's the best word I can describe it. It's a criminal industrial complex. Look at Hillary Clinton. She committed so many felonies, and she walked scot-free. Nobody's touching her because she's got those,
the head of the FBI admitted on TV to felony Title 18 violations, and she still got to walk.
Yeah, she got to walk, Mike. And that's what scares me, okay? Because it means that there is no justice in the United States. By the way, let me ask you this. I caught something on YouTube about a Texas police officer, a woman who murdered a person in his own apartment, thinking that the guy was in her apartment, except that she was on the wrong floor. So she fired 2 shots. One missed, and one got the guy in the chest and killed him. Now, today was the sentencing hearing.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what happened? Because I didn't get the chance
she
to
got
watch
sentenced for murder. She got convicted of murder.
I know, but how many years? How many years?
I don't know the number of years, but I imagine it's going to be quite a while.
No, because she was sentenced basically, Mike. She was. The jury had the option of. Finding her guilty of manslaughter, which carries a sentence between 5 and 15 years, and murder, which is a lot worse, okay, which she could actually end up spending the rest of her life in prison. So I was wondering, because I got stuff, and I lost track of it. I lost the link, and I can find it. Probably I'm going to have to Google it and get back on track with this.
We'll have to do that.
You know what?
The last story that I read was that she was convicted of homicide.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I got too. Yeah, that she was convicted of first-degree murder, which carries a sentence from, I believe, 5 to in prison. I don't know. That doesn't sound real. Okay, and I don't know why they convicted her on first-degree murder, because this was not premeditated. She should have been convicted of second-degree murder.
She walked into somebody's apartment and gunned the guy down. I'm sorry, premeditation is not. Yeah, there was premeditation. She walked through the door. She saw the guy. Oh, this guy is in my home, and she shot him. And maybe they should have gone for the manslaughter charge instead. But I mean, we've got too many of these police officers walking around with guns who are literally on hair trigger alert.
Mike, has it ever occurred to you that she could have owned, and she had no idea where she was at the time? Because come on, how many times did you miss your own apartment for somebody else's? Or you miss somebody's apartment?
It certainly never happened. Okay, Mike in the control room is telling me.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I'm saying. So it has to be some kind of beef that she had with the guy, because I couldn't imagine.
We don't know that. We do know that she did make some off-color jokes about Martin Luther King, but Mike. In the control room is saying she was convicted of murder, but not for capital murder. And it's saying the jury determined she intended to kill him, so murder was the correct charge. And they're giving the jury the option of probation, but they rather doubt she's going to get that.
Well, if she gets probation, excuse me, Mike, but if she gets probation, then every murderer in any county jail in Texas or in state prisons should be let out. Okay, if she gets that, okay, because this is not fair. I mean, she pumped one bullet in the guy's chest in his own apartment, okay, just because she had a badge and a gun, and like Bill Whittle says, just by virtue of you having a badge and a gun, that doesn't mean you're the supreme. I was watching. I'm a subscriber to Bill Whittle channel, and I love his stuff that he puts out. But he's absolutely correct. I mean, there's no flaw in logic here in what he says.
Well, there is one flaw in logic.
The reason I called was
there is one flaw in the logic. Okay. And you mentioned it before. How can you walk into a home not your own and not immediately realize it?
It never happened to me.
Never
I
happened
know
to
my
me.
house. I don't know anybody.
I mean, if you saw the strange stuff I've got hanging on the walls of my home, you'd know that would be impossible.
Right, this is hilarious. I mean, come on, I mean, you walk into somebody's apartment and shoot them dead, and you think you're in your own apartment? Come on, I mean, this doesn't wash, no matter what she says. And what really made me sad is that she was very young. It looks like she's going to spend some time in prison. And my guess is she'll probably spend 15 years at the minimum in prison.
And it's going to be very, very rough because former cops who get sent to jail, they are targets. The other prisoners just love to wail on them. So she's going to have a really rough time.
I know that cops. You know that. You're right. But
the only thing lower than my turn. The only thing that's lower than a former police officer in the prison hierarchy is a child molester. And so, yeah, they may even have to keep her in protective custody.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. She's going to be kept in protective custody in a separate wing of the prison, because if she's let out in the general, in the general population, she'll be murdered.
Yes.
If they find out she's a cop or she's an ex-cop, that's the end of her life, right then and there. Right? So she will not be the first one to meet that fate. So, but anyway, the reason I called Mike is that
Mike,
saying about the government.
Hang on. Okay, we just got a call from a listener. Apparently, she got sentenced to 10 years.
She got sentenced to 10 years.
10 years.
Boy, she got off. She got off easy. She got off easy, Mike. I tell you that. It's not that I have a grudge against her, but listen, homicide is a homicide, no matter how you look at it.
Yes.
So the fact that she took this man's life in his own house, Mike, in his own house, and this woman, trigger happy, she comes off work, she goes and she says she mistook this guy's apartment for her own. How can that be? This is ridiculous. I've never heard such crappy excuse in my entire life. I'm 67 years old, Mike. I've never heard this before.
I mean, every apartment building I ever lived in, there were numbers on the door.
Exactly. That was my point. She must have had a number on her door. Listen. If I served in jury duty. I did jury duty in civil cases, not criminal cases. But I know how the procedure goes. So it's unbelievable. This woman murders this guy in cold blood. Then she claims that she was confused as to where she was. Come on, give me a break. I mean, you can do better than that. Just confess. You just killed the guy because you had a beef against him, because it had to be this. I can't imagine a police officer walking into your home and popping a couple of bullets in your body and then says, "Oh, I was confused. I didn't know where I was." Oh, maybe you were stoned. Maybe you were stoned out of your mind. Then maybe, because that's the only explanation I have. I mean, I can't imagine somebody walking to somebody else's house and saying that it's his house and then start shooting the occupants of the house, thinking that they're intruders. Then, you got to be out of your mind or stoned out of your mind. But anyway, listen. Good
reason for people to be armed so they can shoot back when the cops are shooting at them wrongfully.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd have a problem with shooting a cop, really. I know. I'd
have a problem with shooting somebody, too. I'm not that kind of a person.
Lawyer.
But on the other hand, if police are wandering around a building and they know that some of the people in that building have guns and are willing to shoot, protect themselves, they might say, maybe I ought to make sure I'm going into my apartment. All right, listen, I need to let you go. We're running out of time here, and we have got 2 more callers we're going to try and get to. The first is Steve Elkins, the TSA, the Tourism Suppression Agency. Steve, what's on your mind?
Well, since you just brought that up about the shooting of the Dallas police officer, she had the opportunity if she was in the wrong apartment, which I've lived in those apartment complexes, and I've never gone to the wrong floor and never tried to enter the wrong apartment. But she had the opportunity to hold a gun on him and then flip the light on, and she didn't do that. She shot in the dark. And something didn't seem right about this whole trial at all. Her story, she played the game of I worked 13 and a half hours. I was tired. And then, she did everything to point.
Okay, Steve, I got to let you go. Steve, I got to let you go. I'm sorry. We're running out of time. The show is almost over this time for real. We're going to try and fit as many callers in to the last segment as we can. I don't know that we're going to get you all. We'll be right back.
Owners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today. And this time I really mean it. We're going to go back to the phones here to Robert in California, who wants to share a little humor with us.
Hey, Mike. Oh, boy, you gave me a whole new reason to hope that a meteor doesn't strike the Midwest, bro. I can recommend a few bottles of scotch, though.
Okay. I hate to tell you this. I gave up drinking.
Oh, well, you'll just be standing up there naked with a megaphone and nothing else to do. But, actually, I have a couple of questions about that, knowing that you... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'll be up there with a Diet Coke.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Oh, God. That'll probably kill you quicker than the meteor will. No, I got a couple of questions about the meteors. Since you're one of those NASA guys and you kind of have a little bit of understanding of probably a higher level of physics than I do. So what would the minimum size of an asteroid have to be to give an ELE, an extinction level event?
Well, the one that caused the Chicxulub crater that exterminated the dinosaurs, that was about the size of Mount Everest. A lot of it has to do with the composition of the asteroid. The stony ones cause less damage than the solid metallic ones. But yeah, about 7-8 miles in size. That'll do it for the surface of the Earth, but not necessarily for the deep ocean.
Yeah, no, I guess the ocean would be most protected. So, well, okay, let me ask you another question. Let's say something the size of a school bus did hit in the Midwest. How far away from that would you actually have to be to not get, blown into chunks?
Well, it's estimated that Russian meteor that came down a few years ago was about the size of a small bus. So that's how much energy there is contained in those things.
So if that had actually hit the ground, then it would have been like a multi-kiloton nuclear explosion, basically.
It would have been, but fortunately, these larger asteroids, they tend to overheat and explode high in the atmosphere. And so that minimizes the amount of damage to the ground, except, of course, for chunks that actually do survive to fall to the ground. In the case of the Russian meteor, it was the shock wave. This thing just created a heck of a shock wave that just traveled across miles and miles, breaking windows and all kinds of damage. And, it's going to happen again. Sooner or later, there'll be another one of these. And it makes me very nervous when they say, hey, we had 4 asteroids whiz by the Earth today, but not to worry. We only discovered 3 of them 24 hours ago.
Yeah, no, I got a good laugh when you brought that up. I hadn't read that story, and it kind of parallels what the Democrats are doing right now. They're just coming out there and saying it's the same thing. They're talking about all these things, and they don't even realize what the impact is going to be on society. And everybody's looking at them like they lost their minds, and they don't even realize it. They don't even see it. Okay. I'm going to let you go, Mike.
Pushing an idea, they don't think about the long-term consequences. Unfortunately, the same can be said for Donald Trump. Okay, we're going to try and fit in Laura in Michigan, but I think, Laura, we're just about out of time. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Hello, Mike.
We just ran out of time, and I'm sorry, Laura, we've got to let you go. So this is really the end of our show. This time I mean it. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Please spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We will be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.